Alright, what's up guys? Today is the last starter run where we will be picking Minokawa and going for the win on a fresh file. I'm actually curious who they give you as a partner. I guess it made sense that they gave Tatzelworm to Nixie, but will they give us like Wolpentinger since we're part sidekick? Let us see. Sidekick dodge force, very strong. Alright, so for those of you who picked Minokawa, your signature trait is the first hit of each attack of we deal one more damage for every 2 buffs and shields ourselves for that amount. That's really nice. As this is probably, I would say, my second recommendation for any new player playing the game. That's because it has an insane 1 mana costing tempering, giving it sidekick, force, and dodge. We'll explain sidekick in combat, but force basically guarantees the next attack you deal is critical hit, and dodge allows you to dodge the second hit from your enemy, taking no damage. Supersonic Strike, it's a 1 hit for 8 damage. It gives you sidekick, which we'll explain in a bit, and then it's guaranteed crit afterwards. I honestly don't find myself using Supersonic that much. I just spam tempering and it's so good. And our perk is we have critical damage too, because with force you're always guaranteed to crit, so you don't need crit chance like Chirufe. You're just always critting with this thing. So let's see what we actually get. Really? Orthrus? Okay. Well, hey, you guys saw we did 2 runs with Jotun and Chirufe, so I guess third time's the charm here. But in case any of you are watching my starter video for the first time, you need mana to use actions. Notice how the Orthrus on the top right has a red orb, but we don't have any. So we can't use any of our actions because we have no Aether. So you're going to basic attack to generate one of your types. Since we're fire and wind, we're going to get one of each. And then at the start of your turn, you're going to generate one, and your trainer also generates one. Random. Alright, so we're just going to use Supersonic to now break its poise, because if you saw on the left side, it had the wind color, green, which means it was weak to wind, and that lets us break it. Now we're just going to capture it. Basic tutorial stuff. And now we can just kill it with whatever we want. Always try to do the most damage when you're killing, because there is a worthiness system in this game. And basically, it just rewards you for playing really well in the game. You want to get this leveled up as quick as you can, because the perks you learn from worthiness are permanent. So if you fail or win this run, you keep it. If you start another run, you still have it. So basically, it's permanent unless you delete your save file. So, really good stuff. And every time you win a fight, you get a blank memento. Or not a blank memento. You get a random loot. We got a blank memento there to make up for the Orthrus we captured. These are shrines. Whenever you capture monsters, you could go to a shrine and then interact with it. If you have souls, and then bring it to your party. The run automatically starts you at 3, so you're chilling. Alright. Well, out of these 2 options, we could go with Cockatrice for a little tankiness. Or we could go for Tazelworm. I think we're going to go with Tazelworm, and I have an idea of what I'm looking for, but we'll see what the game actually ends up giving us. Alright, so we have our team. Now we're going to use Tempering. This is an action you probably want to use every single turn, just because it's going to help you out a lot. So our Orthrus is getting hit, You could tell because if you look at the icon, it has like a little peg going south. That means our Orthrus is getting hit. So I'm actually going to break its poise because the sidekick is basically a follow-up attack. So that's what we're doing. We're guaranteeing we're critically hitting. And since our Orthrus is getting the follow-up of the sidekick, that means that the sidekick is guaranteed crit, which was why we were able to kill that. Alright, I'm trying to think here. How do we do this? I think I Fire Fang here. And then I Supersonic here, and then my Orthros is gonna follow up with a sidekick. Yeah. There we go. Unscathed. Also, experience in this game works a little different than your typical RPG. You get 1 experience per fight. It doesn't matter if you fought 1 monster, 2 monsters, or 3. You always get 1 XP until you beat a boss, which we'll go over later. Alright, so heroic defense is pretty nice. As long as we have force, we have +2 defense, and we take 1 less corruption. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to generate multiple forces right now, so every time we get a force stack, we're just using it, so that doesn't seem that good. Whenever an ally triggers sidekick, shields both attackers for 3. So since I plan on running no tanks, this is a small form of mitigation. And then this one, 4 stacks on allies now apply to the first hit of each attack, and allies deal +2 crit damage for every 4 stack on them. This is really nice. It's just, I don't really see us getting multiple 4 stacks, but we'll see what I could do. So I'm going to take this one, because we can't re-roll. We don't have any re-roll since it's a fresh file, so Perfect Edge is probably the best one. And we got lucky. We got a drum. So anytime you do a support action, I get a temporary power, and as a perk of giving me 5 HP. I think we'll do that on Minokawa since it actually has support actions, unlike Orthrus right now. So whenever you see this little pink diamond, you can just press the prompt on your screen and it takes you up to a higher elevation. Higher elevation is good in this game because it lets you do ambushes, which will increase the poise damage you deal to the enemies before the battle starts. You could talk to Lily if you want. I just skipped ahead since this is my 4th time doing this. So Mandragoras, speaking of ambushes, Mandragoras ambush you because they're hiding in the ground, and you have to parry them when you come across them to keep the poise going. So we didn't go over Orthrus, so I guess I should do that right now. Orthrus' signature is pretty interesting. If it attacks once in combat, it heals an ally with the lowest HP for 5. But if it attacks a second time, you get a power stack. Now, a power stack is really good because it increases your damage for that fight by 1, and it keeps ramping up. So see how Aqua Pounce right here is doing 3 damage, or 3 hits for 2? That's what the numbers mean, by the way. The first number is how many times it will hit, and the second number is how much damage those hits will deal. So if we got +1 power, now we're hitting 3 times for 3 damage. So we go from 6 to 9. And as you can see, you just keep adding to that 2 by 1. And that ramps up real quick. And the way we could get 2 attacks every turn is by Fire Fang. Fire Fang does damage, it puts sidekick. And then when an ally does an action and hit, the sidekick triggers, giving us the power. Because that's 2 actions per turn. So, with that being said, we're going to do a Fire Fang over here. And then I'm going to just do a basic attack, since I have no Aether. Build up some Aether for next turn, and trigger that to get that +1 attack on our Orthrus. The reason I didn't care what the Wormling was doing is because I know what that thumbnail is. And it's not a damaging action, so that's why I didn't bother. And right here, we just finished a fight with Aqua Pounce, doing 9 damage, breaking the poise, And whenever the poise is broken, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned that, you deal 50% more damage. So it's pretty nutty. Every 3 powers, that's going to be really slow. Whenever we evade a hit, apply sidekick to them. Ooh. Well, when we do tempering, we get dodge, which guarantees we dodge the second hit of an attack. I don't think I'll be dodging. And this one's just good. Whenever we get sidekick, we get an Aether. Aether is going to be a big issue for this team. So I think I'm going to take sidekick generator. Once you play enough of Aethermancer, you learn that the most important resource is Aether. If you don't have Aether, you saw that turn we had to resort to doing a basic attack. You really don't want to be doing basic attacks. Alright, so over here's the sword. This allows us to get an equipment, kind of like this drum that we picked up, but it's a random one in the pool. That's good. This one is an artifact, kind of like our blank memento to capture creatures and our flask to heal. This gives us another buff for the run, but it has limited uses, but it gets refreshed every time you beat a boss, so that's pretty nice. But after 400 hours of playing this game, the only one that I really care for, whenever you see this, you just go for it. Aether Spring gives you a permanent buff for the rest of the run. So from now until we win or lose, when I pick this up, it is active, which is very strong. And I highly recommend you take that too if you want to win. Even after 400 plus hours, I still take it, just because it's like the best option. Alright, so here's the Tatzelworm we captured on that floor. We can now bring it to our team. And now we have a 3-man squad, which he will most likely be resorting to just basic attacks, as we want to Fire Fang with our Orthrus, get him built up his power stacks. Oh, here it is. Alright, so... okay, so it is set. We can take the Earth Blessing, so after every combat we get 2 extra gold. It may not seem like much, but every fight, which I suggest you always do every single fight on every floor, it does add up to letting you buy some stuff you may have missed out just by a few gold. But the one I'm going to take is the fire one. Why? Because when the loot drops from the floor after you defeat an enemy, if it is an equipment, there's a 35% chance it's just a higher tier. And higher tier equipment sells for more gold, which kinda evens out if you're somewhat lucky. If you're not lucky, obviously this one's a better choice, but I like to high roll it, and I almost always take fire, unless I specifically planned around like a certain purchase, which is very rare that I do, so I just always take fire if it's fire and earth. And like I said, when you have the height advantage, you do 1 more poise. So normally we do 2, but as you can see with the UI, it says +1 because of the high ground. That's why you always want the height advantage. So if you see an ooze with a Tatzelworm, it's better to kill the Tatzelworm, especially if you have the poise break, which we do with Orthrus, because ooze and Tatzelworm synergize together, and they could be really annoying. So we're going to go and get the Tatzelworm, reduce the amount of damage that squad can deal to us, and then go from there. Alright, so since we didn't generate 2 Fire Aether, I'm just going to do Tempering, so I could back up my ally, and then we're going to do Aqua Pounce to not only break the poise of the Tatzelworm, but kill it. This team has no tanks, so we're just raw dogging it, trying to kill a monster on the enemy side every single turn to reduce the amount of damage going out. So since we have a dodge stack, that Poison Strike, or Poison Slash? Toxic Slash, that's going to my Minokawa isn't going to be that bad, but our Orthrus is getting basic attack by the enemy Orthrus as well. So that's happening. I'm going to attack the ooze, and if we get lucky with 1 crit, we actually take no damage. So let's see. Oh, okay, I didn't get lucky. So notice how the ooze lost 1 poise there, even though it's the enemy's turn? That's because if you have poison on the enemy and they're weak to earth, they actually take 1 poise damage, which it did right there. Alright. So the ooze is doing something that would normally be considered scary, because as you can see, it's not just selecting one of our allies. All 3 are lit up. That's because it's doing an AoE action. But, like I told you, if it's poisoned and weak to earth, it will just take that damage and break next turn. So, I could ignore it, and all my focus can be on this Orthrus, which is what we'll do to reduce the amount of damage going out. And then next turn we just kill the ooze. Perfect poison, break the poise, and perfect lethal. Alright. I'm trying to see how I could squeeze out some Aether here, or damage for our boys. We're doing that. We're doing this. Yeah, I think that does it. Fire Fang leaves it by 1. And then he comes in for a nice overkill of 23. Beautiful. Remember, if you could finish a fight, you don't want one person to just get the kill. You want everyone to chip in some damage, because it increases your worthiness. And as you'll see as this run goes on, each little chip of worthiness we're getting will get us closer to level 2. Whereas if you look at your run, you might notice that you didn't hit the level up at the same time I did. And that's because you may not be min-maxing your worthiness as much as I am. Which is completely fine, right? It's your first time playing. I don't expect you to do it perfect. But something that you should look out for in your runs. Alright, the reason I didn't attack the cockatrice is just because I have Tatzelworm over here with Fire Claws that hits 4 times. So if I do need to break the cockatrice, we have Fire Claws for it. But we're not going to be doing that. Instead, I'm going to be doing Fire Fang and taking out... yeah, we're going to be taking out this one. My Minokawa is going to be taking some damage here, but it's okay, because Minokawa usually doesn't take that much damage when I run with it, so I'm fine. Wind Kick does hit pretty hard. But don't be too scared. Remember, in this game, you fully heal at the start of the fight unless you're corrupted. It's unfortunate that it lives by 1 if I do Aqua Pounce. You know what? Let's see what happens here. So we're going to break its poise. But I get a sidekick. If I get 1 crit... Unfortunate. But we do have a dodge, so... we reduce the amount of corruption we're building up, so that's good. Alright, so this is the win. How am I splitting the damage? That's a great question. Okay, I'm going to do it here. We're going to Tempering. And then we're going to Fire Fang. Beautiful. On level 3, we get to pick an action. None of these seem that great. I guess I might take Polar Winds just because it gives us a water action, which we don't have. Energy Thrust is nice, but if I would pick this, I'd rather put it on my Orthrus because it puts 2 sidekicks if we interrupt, right? And if Orthrus interrupts and get the sidekicks, then we get Sidekick Generator, which gives us 2 Aether because we're getting 2 Sidekick. And as you can see right now, Aether is a massive problem. There's no way in hell I'm going to have the time to do a free action. So, yeah. I'll just take this one, and it might be good in the future. If not, it's not the end of the world. Oh, sweet Jesus, thank you. Perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for, but let's go over the other options first. So, Tatzelworm. Actually, did we even go over Tatzelworm? My bad. Tatzelworm, its signature trait is on crit, it poisons the enemy. And if the enemy is poisoned, for each stack of poison, it gets 4% crit chance. So you can see how this snowballs, huh? Because when you crit, you put poison on them. And when they're poisoned, you have a higher chance to crit. So yeah, it could get out of hand pretty quick. Kind of like our last episode with Nixie. So, its starting action is Toxic Slash, 2 hits for 4 damage, pretty nice, chunky, and applies 2 poison, so you could read this as it does 10 damage, and then the next turn does another one, so it's 1 mana for 11 damage in 2 turns. Pretty nice, and it enables its trait to do some more crits. And then this one is 4 hits, but for 2 damage, but it's mostly just used for its Poise Break, or if you could stack up power some way, shape, or form. Kind of like how Orthrus is doing, then these 2 hits, the 2 damage scales with the 4 hits like insane. But, yeah. So this increases our chance to crit. Every 3 crits, we generate a Wild Aether. Normally you're using Fire, Water, Wind, and Earth Aether, but there is a purple one, which is Wild, and that counts for any. So if, let's say, I only had 1 Fire Aether, but I had a Wild, I would use the Wild Aether to fill in the missing Aether I'm having, since I only have 1, and it would fill in the other Fire, and that way I can use Fire Claws. So Wild Aether is good. Splather, when the enemy is bleeding, all allies who attack that have a 25% increased crit chance, which is great. It's just I don't have a way of applying bleed right now, so this kinda does nothing. Also, it's an aura. That's why I said all allies. Aura applies to all allies, even though I'm going to be the one that takes it. Like, if I take it, Tatzelworm takes it, it's on Tatzelworm, so you think, oh, that's only for Tatzelworm. No. If it has aura, it's for everyone. Kind of like how Sidekick Generator here is only for my Orthrus. If it was an aura, then every time I do Tempering, you would have noticed that I would have gotten an Aether, but I don't, because it's only for him. Kind of like how this one's an aura and it benefits all allies as well. But since we are in a heavy Aether issue, Polluted Aether, whenever I attack, it consumes an Earth, which my other allies are not using, and then deals a hit and applies 6 poison to the target. So, the way we're going to trigger this is just by doing basic attacks. The basic attacks that we do on Tatzelworm will generate a Earth and Fire Aether. So even though I may not have an Earth Aether when I use this attack, since it's generating one, it then consumes it right away, and it helps us deal decent amount of damage while building up Fire Aether so my allies can do Fire Fang and Tempering. So that's why, out of those 2 options with the Cockatrice and the Tatzelworm, I was like, that's an out. Like, that is a good way to snowball that team and we could win, and thankfully I got lucky. Alright, so we have 2 Orthrus here. We don't really have wind damage except supersonic, but I don't really feel like doing that. So I'm just going to get the Wolpentinger low and then break it with my Tatzelworm. And then we'll go from there. Wow. We generated no... Not a single Fire Aether. Alright, well, that's unfortunate. So, I'm just going to attack with my basic right here. Polluted Aether triggers, and boom. I do have one, which I guess we'll apply to ourselves. And our Orthrus will just do a basic hit. Yeah. We'll just, actually... Yeah, we'll get one of these Orthruses low, so next turn we could just kill them. Because since the Wolpensinger is broken, that 6 poison's actually 9. So, that's really nice. Fortunately, the Orthruses do heal up when they attack, so... that hurts us a bit. But... I could tell by the thumbnails what they're doing. Also, inspect on the bottom right. If you press this button, it could be very overwhelming at the start. But you could just go over and see what the enemy's doing. Snow support, that's a healing action. Fire Fang is like our Fire Fang. And then the Wolpensinger is copying our Tempering. So since we know 2 actions out of the 3 are support and only one's damaging, we could just kill the one that's damaging us and leave the other one alone. And we'll be just fine. You can also tell just by looking at the screen. Notice how the Wolpensinger and the Orthros at the bottom have a blue border around their action, while the middle one has a red. That lets you know the red is dealing damage and the blue is just support not doing damage, if you just want a quick skim. Something I picked up after playing the game for a bit. Alright, so... think we're going to do Tempering here. And we're just going to kill this by generating some Aether for our next turn. Now it's obviously doing snow support, so it heals up the damage. That's why it didn't matter too much that we did little damage to it, because now it's just dead. So we're going to do Tempering. This way everyone gets to chip in. And the Polluted Aether will kill it. Boom. Beautiful. Yeah, so far the team's going pretty well. Let's see what we learn. Something with Sidekick. Okay. These are actions. Icy Assault. That scales well once we get a good amount of power going. Volcanic Essence heals all our allies. If all of them are full HP, then I apply power to myself. So, I mean, that's pretty good. Everyone gets healed for 21. If they're all full, I get 1 power. Then we have Charge Beam, 2 hits for 8 damage. Applies force to all our allies. And it gives all of them temporary power. This is nice, but, yeah, we have Aether problems, so... I don't know how we're going to get 5 excess Aether to use Charge Beam. Volcanic Essence is probably nice if you're new to the game and, you want to be cautious going into new enemies that you may not know. But since I know my enemies and what we'll be facing, I think I'll take the Icy Assault just to scale our power for burst damage against bosses and maybe poise damage when I need it. Since it does add the wind element that we currently don't have, so that's pretty nice. Now you don't want to have all your monsters with all the elements covered. It's just something nice to have when there aren't that many good options to pick and you can't reroll. That's why I usually factoring in, oh, I add an extra element that I normally wasn't using on this monster already. So, the banner's default effect, it just gives all allies a crit chance and evasion. The percentage is going to change depending on the rarity. Since we have rare and not common, I believe the difference is 3, like it starts at 4%, so we're at 7. The extra perk is it converts the first Aether we generate into wild, which is good. And then our basic attack generates 1 extra water. So originally I was thinking of putting this on Orthrus, because when he generates the Aether from Fire Fang's sidekick, that will be wild, so someone could use that to anything they want. But since it has Water Generator, which activates on basics, Tasselworm will most likely be basicking almost every turn. So why not generate an extra water Aether for free? So that's my logic there. You can open up your map, and any of these symbols on the map, you could just fast track to them. So we'll go to this one since we kept it for last. And yeah, you just don't get resources. Okay. So the equivalent exchange is a funny event because you could give up your gold, which resets every run, to get Aether Crystals. Aether Crystals are your meta progression currency. Now, if you never played a roguelike, this means meta progression are permanent buffs you could purchase, and they will help you in your subsequent runs after this one, whether you win or fail. So that probably already sounds good, right? But here's the catch. If you're trading in your gold to get Aether Crystals, the gold allows you to go further in your current run, which will give you more Aether Crystals, whereas just cashing out now gives you a small amount, and it lowers your chance of winning because now you're giving up your gold, which is used to purchase items from the merchant, which can be very helpful. Almost some of them are just game defining. I just win because I pick some of them up. So I usually always recommend for first timers, and even if you're a veteran, always give up Aether Crystals for more gold so you have a higher chance of winning your current run, which nets you more Aether Crystals than if you would just do this first option. Unfortunately, I can't do this option because I believe the default amount you need is 20, right? Yeah. So we can't do any, and I'm not going to change this for Aether Crystals because this is just a demonstration on how to play with Minokawa. So I have a save file already, so I'm not going to lower my chances of winning this current run by giving up the gold. So it's kind of like a dead event. It feels bad, but hey, you know, sometimes that happens. So over here is the question mark room. It gives you one random NPC. In my roguelike games, I like to be consistent, and since this is RNG, and I'm not fishing for a specific NPC, we're going to pass on that. Speaking of the merchant, this balance right here is the merchant. But we only have 9 gold, so going to the merchant isn't a good idea. Even if I had 900 gold, I would not recommend going to the merchant, because you're given a merchant room after you defeat the boss. So instead of spending all your gold now and then you get a guaranteed merchant later, you're not gaining power on the floor after you defeat the boss because you don't have currency to spend. I always like to get power each floor I go. So yeah, while you may get it the power now, you're missing the power after the boss. And you usually have good enough change after beating a boss to get something. So we're just going to be taking the artifact. Since we passed up on one earlier for the Aether Spring, now we could take this, which will give us a nice boost for the rest of the run. Even though it has limited usages, it does get refreshed after we defeat the boss. And we get to pick one, the Aether Whip. It damages the enemies 2 times for 2 damage, so 4, and steals an Aether. So let's say they were trying to use Fire Fang and they only had 2 fire. You could steal one of their fire, so they have to use a basic attack now because they don't have the Aether to use Fire Fang. And it gives us that Aether, which is really nice. But we have Heroic Horn here. We have Orthrus that's trying to scale with power. We also have Tasselworm that can make great use of Fire Claws if the enemy is weak to fire and we do need to break them. So, out of these 2 options, I'm going to take the Heroic Horn. Just because we have 2 monsters on my team that would love to get a free power at the snap of a finger. Oh, free loot. Alright. Get some antidotes. Alright. So when Tasselworm attacks, he does do 1 hit of Earth. It poisons them. So they're going to take 2 instances of Earth. But it still leaves them with 1 left over, so he won't be broken. Like we said, we can Fire Claws the cockatrice if I need to. And then we have this. Wormling can get scary, but it's usually on turn 3 to 4 that it does the scary action. So I could ignore it. And I think we'll still hit the Wolpenzinger just because I want to kill it. And maybe we set it up just to break on turn 2. And we leave it alone for turn 1, I guess. Hmm. Nah, we're not going to do that. Alright, so we're going to Fire Fang. Generated a Fire Aether. We're going to Tempering. And now, we're going to attack all out and just kill this boy. Wow, we actually got a double crit. That is crazy luck. Huh. Alright. It just purged some of my Aether, which is completely okay. Oh, I guess I should go over that, huh? Okay. So what it just popped up there is the corruption tutorial. Like I said, you always start your fights at full HP unless you're corrupted. Notice how we have 8, 4, and 2 corruption from Minokawa, Orthrus, and Tasselworm. That's because we took unmitigated damage without having any shield. Like I said, this team's not really defensive. We're not going to have that much healing. So if you pick Minokawa and you go the same route I did, you're going to need to be aggressive and break poise or kill one monster a turn to reduce the amount of corruption you take, because when you start a fight, you start max HP minus corruption. That's why our Minokawa is 34 out of 42. That's why this one's 33 out of 37 and 29 out of 31. And obviously we took damage on that first turn. So as you can see, corruption building up is bad, because it means you might just die from the chip damage over the course of a fight, because you don't have the Aether or the HP pool to live the hits that are going out. So looking at this, we have the cockatrice attacking. I think we're actually going to basic attack with my Minokawa, generate a Fire Aether, then Fire Claw this cockatrice to break its poise. And then I have enough resources left over to then do this Icy Assault and break the Wormling, so we actually take no damage here. Beautiful, isn't it? Alright, well done. Try to do as much damage as we can. Alright, as you can see, our Orthrus already surpassed Minokawa from worthiness, as it is putting in the work. Alright, we got a skill reroll, that's very good. Could allow us to mitigate a bad situation of something I don't want on any of the options. The reason I suggest you go to and do every fight, obviously, is because, remember, every fight gives you 1 XP, not every monster you defeat, so each fight gets us closer to a level up, which will, you know, sometimes ensure that we get a win by scaling how the game wants us to. So, I'm going to Fire Fang over here, because Mandragora is the healer of this first biome. If you ever see a Mandragora in the group, you want them dead. You don't even think about it. You just kill them. Wow, we're getting lucky with crits. Unfortunate, that was a big overkill. Wasted that 9 poison stack that we could have potentially had on someone else. But, I guess that's, you know, that's how the cookie crumbles. Alright, we're getting damage on both fronts. Out of the two that's taking hits, I'd rather have my Orthrus take some hits and get corruption. Because my Minokawa already has 8. So we don't want to build that up too much. We're actually going to do a Polar Wind here and see if this helps KO. We get a crit? Yes. Alright. Another turn, another 0 damage taken. Lovely. Out of these two, I'd rather have my Orthrus level up. Because I know his worthiness level 2 is really good, and you want that. Unlike Tattleworms, which will be pretty much next to mid on this run. Alright, so we get Explosive Exhale. A rather really good action that got nerfed, I think twice now? Unfortunately, it's not for this archetype we're running. Not for this team. Lightning Assault. This is a way that we could get bleed now. So if we see splatter again, it could be decent. But Tattleworm's mostly here to do basic actions and not actual actions. So out of all these options, none of these seem that great. I might take Viral Bloom. It triggers poison on all monsters and it's a free action. If you notice, every time we do an action, it ends the monster's turn, right? That's because all of these are considered actions. But Viral Bloom, notice how it says free action. A free action doesn't end your turn and you could use another action. So, I'm not really going to see Explosive Exhale going off. It would be nice to get some Lightning Assaults, but I don't see Tattleworm being the one that would be doing that. If I do need a Fire or a Wind Poise to break the enemy. So I think I'm going to take the Viral Bloom, and maybe if we generate a decent amount of free Aether, we could just pop the poison on the enemy, and this will be nice. Notice how it does say all monsters though, so if you have poison, it would also trigger on your monsters. So be careful when playing with poison. I wasn't going to use my reroll there because I don't envision my Tattleworm doing much outside of just basic attacking every turn to give us Aether. Right here we got Boots. It increases your evasion by 15%, which is nice. I forgot what we were even getting when I remember I said, oh yeah, we're not going to dodge. And then here's our chance to give Orthrus a chance to dodge. You naturally get dodge on Tempering, and then this gives Tattleworm a chance to maybe evade. So it's always funny how some of those things come back and you're like, ah. So here's the Cleansing Pond, right? Oh, Bless Pond. So you can pay some gold. Here's one usage of gold. If you find a corruption mechanic a little scary and you want to tone it down, you could pay some gold and reduce the corruption on you. I am perfectly fine with having this much amount of corruption. So I won't be spending my gold there. Because I see a Soul Altar. This gives you a buff for the next 2 fights. So, we could get 15% critical hit chance, which is always nice. We could get poison on the enemy. Or we could get regen. Not all these options, they're not really that aggressive. So, I think we'll just take the crit chance and call it a day there. There was one option that would have been really good, but we just didn't get it, so unfortunate. So here's the merchant, and this is the symbol for the boss. So after the boss, we will get a merchant. So like I said, you don't want to go to merchants. Over here is like a Saturn looking symbol. This gives you, when you win a fight, you know how it drops the loot? This basically gives you a loot, random loot, but a higher rarity. I don't feel like gambling. And over here is the Witch's Hat. It allows you to either reroll a trait or an action. So, looking at these, Sidekick Generator is great. Icy Assault's okay for now. Polluted Aether's good. Viral Bloom is whatever. I don't really care about my actions. So, just that we have a good trait on Tatzelworm is good. This is good. So, I think I might swap out Perfect Edge before I swap out the Polar Wind. Just because this isn't really doing much. Remember, I only took it because we kind of had to. Although, it just dawned upon me, I'm gonna give you an advanced tip here. You don't always have to talk to the NPC when you come in the room. Instead, I'm gonna go defeat the boss, see what we get when we level up, and then I'll come back to the witch and reroll. Also, whenever you defeat a boss, whatever XP you were getting prior will now increase by 1. So when we defeat this boss, we'll actually get 2 XP. So Orthrus will actually level up with us to level 4. Instead of just Minokawa. And there's the height advantage that we did not get last run with Nixie. It just did not give us that RNG. Alright, so Warden's an interesting boss. Because as you can see, its poise is neutral. Because it's white. That means any source of damage just lowers its poise instead of being specifically needing one. So for that, we're going to give ourselves the Heroic Horn on our Orthrus since it'll be carrying the weights. We'll be doing a Fire Fang. I'll be doing a Tempering. And then our Tatzelworm will go ahead and hit. It doesn't really matter what the Warden's doing. Our game plan is to just deal the most amount of damage as we can every single turn to try and win. Otherwise, we just lose. That is how this team is that I went forward with. Now, when you do break a boss, unlike your normal enemy, which loses its turn, the boss has 2 actions, so it just loses the first action it was going to do. So something to be mindful of when you're fighting them. Alright, we're just going to get that Fire Fang out, so I could get 1 more power, and maybe next turn I might start dashing in some Icy Assaults. Okay. Unfortunately, that plus 15 crit chance that we picked up isn't really activating, is it? Alright. Minokawa's getting hit at the top. I think we could actually finish the fight here. So, obviously, if you're playing this casually and this is your first run of the game and you have broken your Warden, remember to capture it. You do want Warden on your team. It's a pretty good monster. I was thinking of finishing it off with Fire Fang, but then I remembered I could actually get some more worthiness here by using Viral Bloom first and then killing it. So yeah, remember, always do the most damage you can. There we go! All 5 crits! Beautiful! Now that must have been some nice damage boost right there for our Tatzelworm. Alright, let's see what we get. Okay. Undedicated support action. Tempering is dedicated. We are mostly using that, so that's decent. We already seen this one, and at the start of your combat and 2 turns, applies dodge to self and each ally for 3. Yeah. I think I'll take the reinforcement. It now gives us an excess, so Perfect Edge can start doing something. That's why I was originally going to take it off, because it wasn't really doing much, but now with Reinforce, it's at least doing something. And over here, for every 3 power, we generate 1 random Aether. Oh, that's what it was. Martial Prowess. Whenever an ally evades a hit, they get Sidekick. Yes, that's what it was. Fortunately, I just don't want to bank on a low chance to dodge. So out of these options, none of these are really that good, because we're only getting 1 power every turn. So every 3 turns, I get 1 Aether. I'd rather get, like, the Sidekick generator is getting us 1 Aether every time we get Sidekick, which is every turn. So you can see the value there is kind of mid, right? And then we're banking on a chance that my Minokawa was the one getting hit, so we could get Sidekick. So, yeah, nah. Let's re-roll and hope we get something better. Okay, so whenever power is applied to this monster, it heals all allies. So that is a little form of healing we could get. 100 healing, all allies get 2 power. This is great, it's just I don't see us getting 100 healing before we lose the fight. Because remember, Orthrus is only healing for 5. That's 20 rounds. You can use Flask to help out, but yeah, it's still, that's just not happening. So for every 3 wind Aether consumed by allies, applied Sidekick to self. Now that can be decent. It's just right now we don't have that really going on, so yikes. I think I'll take Helping Winds and see if we could pick up some free wind actions to get some value from this. But most likely, actually, we didn't use the Witch. I'll just witch that off, because you don't want that one. Okay, this is really good. So we got Talisman. Base effect, whenever you get a buff, there's a 20% chance you get another one of that buff. That's very good. Orthrus is trying to get sidekicks and power. Minokawa has tempering that's getting me 3 buffs, which also synergizes with its signature and reinforcement. So we have 2 great candidates that want this. Now when we look at the perks, we have sidekick damage +1. It increases sidekick damage for all allies, not just the user or the wearer. So that's good. But it then grants the user a 15% chance to evade. So out of these 2, taking this, I think I will actually give this one to Minokawa. Only because it will increase the damage it'll do, so maybe we finish fights quicker. Now, no one else is really doing supporting actions, so we're now selling that off for 3 gold. And good thing we kept the Witch, because our Orthrus didn't get anything nice. So let's see if we could use that advanced tactic I talked about and replace Helping Winds for maybe something useful. Okay, power generator again and ascension. I really wish they would change that. I just saw these. I don't want them. The start of combat, whenever an enemy is staggered, applies 1 force and 2 temporary power to self. Well, out of all the options, this is like the best one. Although I don't want this one either. But the reason this one's in yellow text and the other 2 are in white, if you look at the bottom right of power generator, it says power, right? And at the bottom of ascension, it says heal. This one says force and power. So, if we look at Orthrus' types, remember, it said power and heal. And then that one said power and force. We don't have force, but we have power. The way Mavericks work is if you have one of the 2 types, that's the only way you'll see it, and you have an ally that has the other type, which is Minokawa to have the force, that's how we're able to get cruelty on our Orthrus. In case anyone is wondering what the yellow text is. So, yeah, this is not looking good for our Orthrus. Usually, we get some really nice, just common ones. The game is not being kind to us, so You just have to roll with it, I guess. Whenever you beat a boss, you can talk to this pot. It cleanses your corruption by 15. So notice how we have 10, 7, 5? Gone. Just gone. And here's that merchant I told you about. You're guaranteed to see every time you beat a boss. So let's see what we get. Ooh. We get boots with fire generator on basic attacks. The whole reason Tazzleworm is subjected to just do basic attacks is because we don't have enough fire Aether to go around for Minokawa and Orthrus. So this is probably a really nice purchase. Well, let's see the other options. On the belt, the base effect, if you interrupt the enemy, so that's by breaking their poise, stealing or purging an Aether to cancel their action, or killing them, you then have a 50% chance to get a power. That's okay. This team's not really going to be utilizing that much. If you're capturing your monsters, this is great to have. Another capture. Soul is nice. And then we have the deck of cards. Out of all of these, I think we'll actually pick up the boots. Because like I said, that base effect is what we're looking for. We are going to lose out on the water generation, but no one was really using water to begin with. We will lose that wild conversion. Although, when we look at the item our Orthrus has, damage by debuffs increase. The only debuff we're putting out right now is poison. And we're not really banking on the poison to get the kill. It's just a side effect of it generating Aether for us, right? So we're actually going to swap out the boots. And I'll still be able to keep the effect of the wild conversion. I just won't be getting the water Aether because our Orthrus 9 out of 10 times will not be doing a basic attack. And yeah, right there. That goes to show with the gold that I saved and didn't spend on the other one for Aether Sands. I was able to purchase that and have some gold for the next merchant we come across. So equipment's really nice. Whenever you have an equipment on all your monsters, the game then changes. Instead of giving you the choice of taking one, you can exchange now. So if there's one you don't like, kind of like this banner's meh, you could exchange it for a higher tier. So since we have all rears, when we exchange, we're going to have an epic. That's the highest rarity. So that's a decent option. And if you like what you're using, it also has the option of maybe upgrading one of your currently equipped ones to epic. But we see the Aether Spring, so we go for Aether Spring. But and then the random loot. So if we didn't see the Aether Spring, I probably would have definitely went for the Knight. But when you see an Aether Spring, you take Aether Spring. It's that simple. And the cool thing about the Aether Spring on the second biome, if you picked it up on the first biome, is it will now give you a free Aether at the start of every turn. And since the one Aether we're starving for right now is fire, I don't even have to look and see which one I want. I know it's fire. So that was really lucky that we got that. Notice how we generate one for each, and then the Aethermancer generates one. And we also generated one extra fire because we now picked up that event. So we see the... oh, these are all new enemies. So... Gargoyle, this is like a mini tank slash DPS in this biome. It usually likes to shield its allies and then do a bunch of damage based on the shield it has. So this guy can be scary if you let it just sit there doing its thing. Nosferatu just does a lot of damage. That's because the devs gave it +1 damage, +1 damage, +2 damage. So everything it hits you for, it's doing 4 more damage than it normally should. That's why Nosferatu is pretty scary. Then you have the Grimoire. It likes to generate free actions. So if you use one of each Aether twice, so 2 earth, 2 wind, 2 fire, 2 water, it then gets a free action and then does another action on top of that. So you usually want to kill that one second. So out of these options, Nosferatu's the only one really doing damage. So let's see. We're going to do Tempering. And see how much this Fire Fang hits for. We still have the crit chance going, so that's good. Alright. Since this is so low on HP, I don't want to waste all that damage. And we could just break the Gargoyle, so let's go for that instead. Notice how we did 1 damage there? The Gargoyle does have a good chunk of defense. So that can be scary. Good thing we're making use of Poise Breaking, because we are getting a ton of free 4 stacks on our Orthrus. Alright. So for this one, we're actually going to attack with our Tasselworm first, because we want to kill the Gargoyle, which will then trigger the Sidekick on our Minokawa, killing the Nosferatu. Now I know that seems like a waste of 41 damage, but that's because now I could just Icy Assault and break the Grimoire, so we don't have to worry about it doing an actual action. Alright. Think we're doing pretty nice. As long as we could keep this up, this might be an easy win. It might be the fastest win, too. Funny enough, Nixie's a healer, but out of my Chirufe and Jotun run, Nixie's the current fastest one, so don't let the tag of a healer fool you. Nixie can put in some work if you build around her. Or build with her. So, we already saw Critical Aether. It's still good. Splatter, like we said, would have been good if we took Lightning Assault, which we didn't. And then this one, Earth actions from any of our allies, which is just my Tasselworm, will poison all the enemies. So out of all these options, like I said, Critical Aether was good. We didn't take it because we had a better choice of what I envisioned the team to do to succeed. But since we still do have Aether issues, we're not all able to do our big actions every turn, we're going to take the Critical Aether. We get a nice soul for some soul events. Funny enough, this event's here again. I do have enough crystals this time. I will give up some crystals for some gold. Thank you. Alright, you see a Nosferatu, you kill a Nosferatu. Now, the middle one is Domovoy. That's the Mandragora, basically, of this biome. It's the healer. If you see it, you want it out of the picture. So we're just going to do some standard stuff here. Cancel that Nosferatu from doing its action. And then just do a nice basic on this Wolpensinger. Alright. I believe the Wolpensinger is just dead, right? From basics? Yeah, the poison will kill it. Interesting turn we have. I'm gonna Tempering here. And I'm gonna actually Icy Assault to prevent this heal from going out. I'm going to trigger the poison on the Wolpensinger, which will then guarantee it dies 2 to poison damage at the start of the turn. And then we're just gonna make sure Nosferatu dies and doesn't actually get that AoE off. Alright, beautiful. So yeah, picking up that reinforcement, turns out it's helping us out quite a bit. As well as, I guess, Cruelty. I mean, I wasn't expecting Cruelty to be this good, but as long as we're breaking poises, it's getting to activate, which is really nice. This isn't too bad. It gives us 2 sidekick and 2 temporary power. It just costs a bit. Solar Wind, it's okay. If it breaks the poise, it could give all our allies dodge, which is a form of mitigation. Precision Meteor's pretty decent, if it critically hits. It breaks 3 extra poise. That's probably something on turn 2 we could do after we Tempering, then the next turn we could do Precision Meteor. Actually, yeah, I think I'm gonna take Precision Meteor. I'm thinking about future fights and what I'll need, and yeah, Precision Meteor is probably the best one. Ooh, we got an epic talisman? Yo, that is lucky. Alright, so it's the same thing like our rear one, but it's 5% higher on epic. It has 10% crit chance, which Minokawa doesn't technically need because it has force, which is guaranteed crits. So, we think we're gonna give that to Orthrus, because remember, we wanted a talisman on our Orthrus as well. It's just I couldn't have taken it, or I guess I passed it up because our Minokawa had more buffs it was getting, meaning it had a higher chance to activate. But now that we could get one, we just want one for the base effect. The perks are nice to have, but they're not like that insane, right? Yeah, like this one, it's AoE and the evasion's nice. This one actually gives our Orthrus a chance to critically hit when it normally couldn't. The banner was giving it the chance to crit, and Cruelty is giving us a force, which is a guaranteed crit. So this one just gives us a 10% chance to crit now that we normally wouldn't, and the initial weakness +2 is cute. It puts weakness on the enemy, which means they deal 3 less damage per stack until they attack and use it up, so it's not like a permanent thing. So yeah, we're going to take it from our Orthrus and give him that. We have the evasion here to build up Fire Aether. So unfortunately we'll be losing out on AoE crit chance and evasion, but it's okay. Alright, so we have Grimoire, Domovoy, and Wolpensinger. Alright, we'll take out this annoying little thing. Ooh, Domovoy is attacking. I might do that. Yeah, actually, I am gonna do that. Alright. So since Domovoy is attacking and threatening to do a big chunk of damage to my Tatzelworm, I'm actually going to go and break it here with Icy Assaults. Oh, there's that crit chance coming in handy and actually guaranteeing lethal when we originally weren't gonna get lethal. I can gamble on RNG and see if we get the crit here.
If we get the crit, that means my Minokawa also avoids damage. Alright, let's see what happens. Oh, beautiful. Remember, poison counts as poise damage. That's why the Wolpentinger over there got broken. Alright, we could just actually just leave that alone because he's dead. The poison just kills it. So, we're just gonna go for some dead boys right here too. God damn! Bro, did we just get super lucky with that 10% crit chance activating 2 times when I needed it? For lethal? That's crazy. Alright. Cleansing Rain heals all allies for 10, cleanses 4 debuffs on them, and cleanses 2 corruption first usage. This is great. It's just not giving me sidekick, so no. Also, decent. 12 heal to all our allies. Great water poise break. Yeah, just none of these are that appealing for me, so if I have to take one, I guess I'll take Blood Drain. Allows me to keep up the offense while healing if I need to heal. I just don't see myself being put in a position that I need to heal. Alright, we did all 3 fights. Let's go to the next floor. So we get a random loot merchant. Like we said, that's bad. This is cute, but we have the knight. And we have a talisman that I would like to upgrade on my Minokawa if we can. If not, I might just take his gold because I don't want to give up my Tatzelworm's item either. Alright, we get the upgrade option. Beautiful. So now we get to upgrade this to Epic. And it lets you pick an extra trait. Unfortunately, on these extra traits, these are all dog shit. This one just gives me 5 shield for the start of combat. But on the second turn, it fades away, so it's useless. Our Minokawa is rarely ever basic attacking, so that's also next to useless. So I guess I'll just take the 5 HP, which will maybe let me live a hit if it was gonna die. It's all good though. We got the talisman to go to Epic, which is a 5% increased chance to get an extra buff every time we buff. Alright, so we've seen these enemies before. The new one is Shambler on the bottom. It usually just likes to buff up and stuff, so not much to say there. I'm gonna tempering here. Fortunately, we got lucky on the one perk I didn't really care for, which was the dodge. Oh, we can break the poise. Alright, let's not get that shield going out then. Oh yeah, I'll just kill it so I don't have to worry about it next turn. Fortress is taking some hits, which is fine. It's healthy, no corruption. Now it does have corruption. Alright, so we got AoE and hits coming from the bottom, huh? Well, we're going to use Fireclaw to guarantee that this is broken. Thanks to the sidekick support. And then we're just going to pray that out of these 5 hits... Actually, no, we don't need to pray. 2 of them are guaranteed crits, so yeah, it's just broken, right? Oh, the game? Okay, never mind. We needed it to crit. Ouch. All good. The Whirlpool was gonna do more corruption damage than that one did. Okay, so they changed how it worked. The game does factor in that that was gonna break some poise, which is nice to know. Ooh, dang. Put myself in a bad spot. I won't get full value. Oh wait, no, yeah, I will. For a second, I thought I wasn't gonna get the full damage value for our worthiness. Okay. Alright. Orthrus is almost there. Ooh. It's decent. And gives us a form of mitigation. Gives us a water element that we weren't using. This one gives me a heal. Applies 3 poison to all enemies and then triggers the poison. And then we get an AoE here. Applies poison to all enemies and itself. Out of all these options, I guess I'll take Explosive Burst. In case I ever need the Water Poise Break and the other two for some reason can't do it. Alright, Rare Armor. Base effect, at the start of every turn you get shields. That's usually nice on your tanks. Yeah, I just don't see a use for it on my team. I just rather have that free Fire Aether from Tatzelworm's basics every time. It's just so much better. Epic Meteorite. Base effect on support actions. Convert 1 Aether into wild. And shields the user for 4. The only real unit doing support actions right now is Minokawa. And he already has Talisman, so don't really want to swap that out. The perks aren't even that good too, so yeah, that's a waste of a but hey, there you go. We had a chance. Ink probably was gonna be rare, and then we got it to epic, and there's 15 golds. That's 7 battles if you had taken the Earth Blessing, so that probably made up for a floor or two, I would say. Alright, what do we got? Buffing. Oh, he's attacking. Okay. Going to Fire Fang. That's what it was. I didn't get lucky. Okay. Well, I could let that through, or I could break it. I think I'm gonna break it. And yeah, actually, I could just leave it alone next turn because there's no actually healers on this. The Grimoires aren't healers, so yeah, it's just dead. Okay. So we got the bottom one doing AoE. Yeah, that just kills it because they're poison. If I, Alright. Poison doing work from Tatzelworm. So there you go. It finally had enough Aether, and as you can see, it's going to be doing 2 actions. Double AoE, which is beautiful for itself. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to crash in on its party and kill it. Nothing personal, you know? Just gotta take that damage down. Alright. So our Orthrus leveled up, and now it has damage +1. That's beautiful. Oh, there we go! Sidekick generator! Yes! Whenever we have force, we have +2 defense and 1 corruption. That's pretty decent now, because we are going to be holding 4 stacks. And this one, dodge now increases the evasion instead of just fading on the second hit. And when you get 5 stacks, you get a second turn. Unfortunately, our team's not doing a good job of getting multiple dodges. It's mostly just going on Minokawa. So this actually would solve our Aether problems now. Especially because we have a talisman. So that's really good. Like, really, really good. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. Unless I fumble the run and play very dumb, this should be a win now. A unanimous win. What the hell? Oh, okay. First time seeing a map layout like this. Alright. Oh, we got a new enemy. Mephisto. Mephisto was really stressful last run because we were doing debuff things. But on this team, I don't really care for it too much. The reason Mephisto gave us issues last run is because if it gets buffed basically on all debuffs on the group. Every 10 stacks gives it more damage and dodge chance. So not only is it hitting your team harder, but it could potentially just dodge your attacks, making it survive and be a real nuisance. So I had to deal with that last run, but thankfully I'm not doing too much debuffs. We only have poison going out from our Tatzelworm, which is completely fine. It's manageable. As you can see, it has 8. It needs to get divisible by 10, so it doesn't have the buff right now. Although it did smack the shit out of me. And it hurt. Here we're actually going to do an Icy Assault, because it's attacking my Tatzelworm. And Tatzelworm's really low, I don't want it to die. And, yeah. I'm actually going to do Fire Claws here since we didn't get to use our Fire Aether. And the poison damage just kills it. Nice. Alright, so Orthrus did hit level 2 worthiness. I don't see it hitting level 3. So, we're actually gonna back off on that, and I'm gonna get some damage on now. With Tatzelworm and our Minokawa trying to get them to level 2. Alright, Minokawa gets an initial dodge, which helps with its survivability. And we get... Ooh. So every time we attack now, we could heal our ally for even more. Our critical hits are guaranteed to be crits, and they apply a bleed. Bleed's really nice because it counts as wild damage, so no matter what the enemy's poise is, it will lose a poise. And this one, for every healing, we get 1 wild Aether. Yeah, if we had auto heal, that would make this even better, but yeah, I think we're going to go with the side crits. Because we're always going to be having sidekick on us. Especially if the talisman procs. That's a lot of damage, because that's 2 free sidekicks. That's always critting. Alright, you know the drill. No merchant, no random loot. We got the witch. What are we looking for? That's good now that we have that. That's good because we have this. I guess Precision Meteor and Polar Wind, we took these just because we had to, so we might swap those. That's good. This I originally thought was going to be bad, but now that we're playing pretty aggressive, it's actually doing really nice. And side quirks is decent. There is one other thing I was thinking, 2 other actions, traits I was thinking of that could be better, but you know what? Instead of making the runs almost similar like the other times we use Orthrus, we'll give this one a try. So, we're looking over here. Yeah. You guys watch my runs, you might know what's going through my mind. We don't have earth poise damage. And you know how much I hate those earth hands when we get to them. I guess Precision Meteor? We have water lockdown. Water's good, wind's good. Fire claws for the fire one. So it's just earth. I would then have to fish for Jewel Cutter then. Well, we'll see what happens. We're gonna level up here. We'll do the advanced strat again where we don't interact with the NPC until the fight's over. Oh, it's right at the entrance. I was gonna look if we have a height advantage, but if he wants to greet us right here, by all means, come get your butt kicked. Alright, so Starspawn's main gimmick is it picks an element at the start of the fight, and if you use that element, it gives itself a wild Aether. As you could tell, that's probably really scary, and you don't want that to happen, so try to avoid it if you can. But if your team's like mine where you just have a game strategy and you just need to do that strat, and that's all you can do, well, you just have to hope you burn the boss before it becomes an issue. So unfortunately, Minokawa didn't get to activate Sidekick that turn, but it's all good. We didn't give it a free Wild Aether, so I'm happy about that. And I believe the fight should be done now. It's doing AoE and hitting our Minokawa. That is completely fine. We're going to pop him with Precision Meteor. And then I'm going to follow up with Icy Assault to break it so it doesn't actually get that off. And then we're just going to do some basics, get that polluted in there, get that poison going. And then, yeah, next turn, pretty sure that's a dead Starspawn. So that was a cute fight. Also, you definitely want to capture Starspawn for any of you who are, actual newbies watching this. Starspawn is one of the best monsters you could have. Beautiful. Really? Come on now. You could have gave him that worthiness too. Alright, so whenever poison triggers on an enemy, we could apply poison to all enemies. On crits, if it was triggered by force, apply 5 poison to them. And then debuff, deal 4 more damage against the enemy. Oof. Oof, 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 oof. This is probably one where we do the witch on the reroll. None of these are really that enticing. I'll take Fatal Upkeep since it's like the best one there, but And none of it's really doing what I need it to do. An epic banner is nice. But, I just like that free fire generator we have going on. So yeah, we'll go back to the witch and re-roll our Tatzelworm. See if we get something better. There we go. Sleighted Hands is great. Gives us crit damage every 3 hits. Since we're basic attacking, that's 2 hits. That means the third hit is our Polluted Aether, which would always be a critical hit. So that's awesome. If I do Fire Claws, that means the third hit out of the 4 is always a critically hit. Yeah, I mean, that's just really good. This one is really, really good, though, because it's an aura. It got buffed from the last time I played. This was normally just a single thing for Tatzelworm, but it's an aura, so a crit, it deals 3 wild damage. So since we have guaranteed force on our Minokawa, that's a guaranteed crit. Our Orthrus has a 10% chance to crit, but if we interrupt the enemy, it gets Cruelty, which gives it a Force, which is a guaranteed crit. And then we just naturally, as a Tatzelworm, has a decent chance to crit. So, out of these options, Incubation's nice, but it was better used on our Nixie run. So, after this run, if you want to see how Incubation's actually utilized and if it could be good, you might want to check that one out. But I already think I sold you guys on why critical hybridization is going to be really good for this run. Because we already have an ally that's always critting, and we have one that could crit a decent amount of time, and then we crit a good amount of the time. So, we're going to cleanse that corruption that our Tatzelworm unfortunately built up and see what's at the shop. Alright, epic armor, that's cute. Lance, really good equipment, by the way. It makes the first hit that you do always be the wild element. So that actually is really nice for attacks that hit once, kind of like our precision meteor. Instead of being earth and fire element, you could just have that be wild, so you're always just doing big poise damage with the guaranteed crits. But as for me, I think I'll take the soul, and I'll take that shielding, and we'll see, we'll roll some XP since we have a ton of gold. Alright, that looks decent. So now every fight that we do moving forward is 3 XP. So, I would have taken this to upgrade our boots for our Tatzelworm, but over here you could see there's the Aether Spring, so unfortunately we can't pass up the Aether Spring. The Aether Spring is all benevolent, all powerful. And the Aether Spring in the third biome, it increases your monster's fire damage by 1, or after every 3 turns, every monster gets a power. So if we take the first one, that means our Precision Meteor will be now a 119, which isn't that big of a deal. Our Fire Fang would be a 2-7. That's a little better. Our Fire Claws would be a 4-3. And our Explosive Burst would be a 2-6. But Tatzelworm is resorting to basic attacks, so it only really means our Fire Fang's going to be doing well. And like I said, power is really nice, and this goes on all our monsters, and since we have the Talisman, there's a chance that that power actually might be 2 powers, so I'm going to take the fire power on turn 3, which you may not see it activate, except for boss fights, which is fine, right? Because if you have something that you don't really need in trash fights, like these, it's just good to make sure you're winning those boss fights. Alright. So, we have a bunch of new enemies, and goddamn, that's scary already. Naga. As you can see, it's doing Flame Skewer. This is a very scary attack, because it does 28 damage. And, obviously, if you're reading the text, it can do even more! So if you ever see Naga, you might want to prioritize killing that first. Dijin is, I would say it's like a medium threat. It generates Aether, it does decent damage, and it has some buffs. Sphinx only can attack you with Sidekick. So if you kill its other two allies, Sphinx is not doing anything. It's just buffing itself, but it can't do anything with the buffs because it can't learn any attacks except Sidekick. So, oh man, I see that flame skewer coming in hot, and there's nothing I could really do. Ooh. I guess there is one thing I could do. Let's see. Ooh. Okay, well, we got lucky on the Aether generation. Icy Assault will take care of this. Woo! Alright. Yeah, I'll just chip away at the Dijing. Set up for next turn. Nice! Oh my god! Bro, those boots fucking put in work! Oh my god! What? Those boots were on overtime, my boy! Damn! Alright, let's see. So, we're killing this. And then the sidekick from our Minokawa will kill that. And I could just relax, I guess. I'll set up for next turn with a Fire Fang. Well, this fight did go on to turn 3 just because I was scared of Naga, so here's that free perma power. Nice. We can see Precision Meteor is going to put in some nice work there. So, I'm actually going to double dip, do damage, and get some healing out. Oh, it didn't factor for the crit, huh? Yeah. Damn. Oh, I also forgot to factor that in. Our sidekicks are always critical hits on Orthrus. So that also triggers the critical hybridization. Yeah, pretty nutty stuff. Alright, well, now that I have Sidekick Generator, Energy Rush is looking more appealing. We could take Aerial Strike, although I don't really see myself doing that. Fortunately, we have no free actions. Free actions are really nice when you have excess Aether, which we should be having excess Aether now, thanks to us getting Sig. As you notice, we didn't really use Supersonic the whole run. That's because I don't really think it's that good of an action, so I'm going to swap it out. Alright, so we got Charge Beam once again. I still don't want to use this. We have Over Smash. If it interrupts, it applies power. Pretty nice damage. And then we have Healing Brew. Heals all our allies. Generates one of each Aether. It's nice, but with Orthrus, if you could generate Sidekick on him every turn, your chances of winning the run just drastically increase. Now, Lightning Assault is pretty decent. We have a good chance to critically hit with Critical Aether giving us 20%, our default 25%, and then the move having 10%. So, it's looking decent. Yeah, I think I'll take it. Because I'm never using Fire Fang, but if I am going to use Fire Fang, I may as well have Lightning Assault to get the crits. So this tree's really good. It lets you change a perk on one of your monsters, and then you get to pick either Aether +1, Damage +1, or Defense +1. So, unfortunately, since this is a fresh file, I don't have a wide pool of perks like I would, so I actually have to think about this one. Yeah, I think out of all the perks I have, initial dodge just isn't that good, so I think I'm gonna give up the initial dodge on our Minokawa. And I think we're gonna get Aether +1. Because Aether +1 just lets me do some of these more expensive actions that I just take. Or just makes my turn 1 better so we could then have a better turn 2 and 3. Epic Lance? Oh. Okay, we take that. Why are we taking that? Because it has Fire Generator on it. And it's a Lance. Remember, it makes the first hit a wild hit. So I could start breaking any poise I want. Woo! Wow, what a lucky run. Oh my god. Although that fight, we did see those boots dodging, what, 5 hits, I think? So, that was pretty impressive. But, yeah, the Lance is just very strong, offensively. Okay, so the new enemy here is the Medusa. Which, every time you attack it, it cleanses a debuff on it. And after it cleanses 5 debuffs, it does a big AoE hit and applies 4 debuffs on you, on each ally. So it could get pretty scary very quickly. So, At the moment, it's just doing a basic attack, which is completely fine, actually. I'd rather kill its allies, the Tatzelworm. Those are the ones that are actually going to make it get more debuffs. Oh, yeah, let's see. I think I'll take out the bottom one since it's doing Fire Fang, and that could scale with all the smog it's going to spread around. Yeah. Even if I do crit and purge its Aether, it has 4 Earth, so it's not going to stop it, so I'm just going to hit it to set up our Aether for next turn. The reason I didn't hit the Medusa like I was planning to is because it was just doing a basic action. Now, if it was doing Cleansing Strike or AoE damage, then yeah, I would have stopped the Medusa, but it wasn't doing anything threatening, so there wasn't a reason to stop it. Now it's doing AoE, so now I will try to stop it. So we're going to do Charge Up, which is a free action that gives us a sidekick. And then we're going to do Tempering, which gives a sidekick. So we just used 3 Aether, but we got back 2. See, that's like the beauty of having sidekick generator. And with the Talisman, if we got lucky, kind of like our Orthrus did right there, we generated 2 Aether instead of 1. So, yep, all free. Actually, right here, we're going to do something cute. We're going to trigger the Viral Bloom, which will get it closer to dying. And then we're just going to kill the Tatzelworm with basic hits. And then our Orthrus will kick in. And yep, GG. Got a little extra damage out from Ooze for some more worthiness. Although, yeah, I don't know if he's going to get to 3. It's a long way. Ooh, we got an epic artifact. Nice. We got 2 fights, so that means the last one is down here somewhere. Oh. Oh, that's a Naga. If I see a Naga, I kill a Naga. Alright, I think we could almost always do charge up now. And tempering. Because I'm going to Icy Assault, the Naga, and just get it out of here. Yeah, I want to do that, right? Yeah, I just want to get it out. Don't even want to think about it. Or Minokawa's getting hit, but it's not the end of the world. It has some shields, it has a dodge stack, so... yeah. Oh, there's that Sphinx hitting us with its sidekick. Cute. But, yep, that's it. We'll now be able to kill the Tatzelworm, making the Sphinx useless. And, yeah, that's all she wrote there. Actually gonna set up my Fire Fang so we could then start doing some damage to the Sphinx in the back. We do have excess Aether. Let's see if I get lucky. Oh, the double crit. Nice. Beautiful. The wild breaking it, and then the poison on the 50% damage increase killing. Oh, you gotta love that. Rare drum? No, thank you. So yeah, all these equipment I'm not taking now. Curious if we actually outpassed the gold we would have had if we took Earth. So a random loot, an artifact, or I could upgrade. So the interesting thing is, if it gives you the chance to upgrade, you can add another perk, like a line of substat. Notice how this one has 3, but this one only has 2? This one has 3? Yeah, you could add another line. Just I'm trying to think, out of all of these, I think I'm happy with that. I'd rather just pick up another 8 artifact, honestly. Yeah, because our artifact selection's kind of small. There are some pretty gnarly ones out there we could take. Kind of like one we had last run, which made it so much more enjoyable. So we'll see if we pick that up. There is a chance that she can refresh one. Like upgrade and refresh the one you take, so... we'll see if we need to use an artifact, and then I'll pick her up before we go to the next floor. Ooh, we got the blue fruits. Wow. All of them have something they want. But I think out of all of them getting one, I want my Orthrus getting it. So the blue fruit, you pick one of your types, and the next level up is weighted toward that type you pick. So since we picked power, there should be a high chance that I get the trait I'm thinking of. Okay. Oh, there it is. Magnus hit. Beautiful. So for every power in the party, we deal an additional hit based on that damage. So since Orthrus and Minokawa are stacking up some power with the temporary and the round 3, this will help out more. This one's cute. It's another one where you're evading. You could get power, but yeah, now that I got rid of the shoes, we're literally banking on just Minokawa, so yeah, Magnus hit. It's pretty good. Because an extra hit also counts towards the poise, which sometimes can make or break if the enemy gets an action or not. Alright. So the Djinns are attacking. Yikes.
I don't have a way to stop them. That's a lot of earth poise, and yeah, we just don't we just don't have it. Well, let's see if we have enough damage to maybe just kill one. If I crit here, we could stop this from going out. Thank you. I think I'll just kill this so it doesn't even do the basic hit. So we preserve some HP. Ooh, nice dodging. Okay. I'm fine with that. Okay. So we got big AoE coming out. I think I'm gonna actually hit the Jin. Because then I could just Fire Fang and stop the Medusa from going out. Since we got lucky with the Talisman and I got multiple stacks of Sidekick. Truly a blessing that we got double Talisman this run. Like I said, guys, Talisman's crazy. Don't sleep on that item. And if you're new to the game, you definitely want to take my advice on that. Talisman's really strong. The fact that you could get potentially 2 buffs when you were normally just supposed to get 1? Insane. Insane. Don't forget to drink water. Stay hydrated. Alright, level 8. What do we get? Ooh, that's what I was thinking of. Perfect. So, we don't want to split our sidekicks into 2 hits. Why? Because Perfect Edge is only working on the first hit. That's basically why. This one's nice, but Instant Phrase better. It just gives all our allies 1 force stack, and since I'm almost always trying to do Tempering, it just synergizes with this better. It also gives us more buffs for our Shining Spark to activate, so yeah, it's just really nice. So here we could increase all our allies' chance to critically hit and increase their crit damage. Minokawa is just getting the +2 crit damage from this, which is good. Orthrus is getting double benefits, and so is my Tatzelworm. The Sleighted Hands is nice. But, since Tatzelworm isn't the main damage dealer here, I think we'll go for the Support Hunt. Support Hunt seems good, benefiting our main damage dealer with Minokawa and Orthrus. It's just there, you know, doing its support things. Alright, so we have 1 new enemy, the Surskit. It's just like a little tank support for poison archetypes. Take out the Medusa and this fight's pretty much easy peasy. Alright, unless you generate terrible Aether. What the hell is that? Maybe I get lucky with this charge and I get 2 sidekicks. Okay. Not going well. We'll hit the Medusa just because it's low on poise already. That is enough to break, so I'm going to do Tempering. Nice, we did get the double there. But yeah, I'm just gonna guarantee just get this Surskit out, not even have to deal with its nonsense. And yeah, that was a beautiful turn one. It looked like it started out unlucky, but we shifted it back into our favor, which is really nice. So I'm thinking about the boss fight. 2 turns is going into Heroic Horn. So the cool thing about Epic Hourglass is it does an AoE heal, but it also AoE cleanses corruption. So I'm going to cleanse the corruption here instead of potentially missing that in the boss fight, since I want to do Heroic Horn twice to potentially kill the boss quickly. Also, we still have to talk to the artifact NPC, so there might be a chance that it just refreshes the charge. So that is originally why I went out to do the fights before I talked to her. So it's just all pros, no cons. So yeah, from here, I guess we could. That's crazy. We got another talisman. Unfortunately, I like the lance I have on my Tatslorm, so we're gonna have to pass that one up for some gold. And I believe over here is the boss room. Yup. So what's down here? Ooh. So in the third biome, you could also come across this plant. You could give up 2 soul, and it removes all corruption from one of your monsters. But as you can see on the bottom left, we have taken no corruption. So we're just chilling. Actually, we did take corruption, but I cleansed it with the Epic Hourglass. So yeah. Tome, first time seeing this one. Whenever you do single target hits, it applies weakness on the enemy, which reduces the damage they deal by 3. Really great for enemies who have a lot of multi-hit attacks. Unfortunately, I just don't see myself needing it. We're just in a really good position. So let's see what... Oh, see? She has a chance to upgrade. We don't have the one that I did use, but if I am going to upgrade one, I would upgrade my Heroic Horn. So yeah, we're just smooth sailing this run. So yeah, this is probably the best one. So we have a chance to add an extra perk. Is there a trait I would like to re-roll for? Now's the chance to do so. No, I don't think so. So yeah, I think I'm going to go to the knight and see if it lets me upgrade or not to get an extra line of free perks. Okay, it's doing the trade-in option, which I'm going to refuse because I like what I have. If you trade in, you're not guaranteed to get something equal of exchange. You might just get a complete 3 options of garbage, and you just lost a really good equipment you were using. Now, if you have one that's just really bad, and that's your saving grace, then by all means, take it and go with that. I'm actually surprised. I don't think I've ever had the height advantage in this biome. I didn't even think it existed. I don't know if that's recently added with the patch or what, but yeah, that's my first time ever getting height advantage on 3rd biome boss. 400 hours, by the way. Probably closer to 450 at this point since I came back to the patch, but yeah. Unheard of. So this is nice. Now that we have an epic horn, we're actually getting 2 power instead of 1. So that's going to scale real nicely. We're going to do charge up just to rack up some buffs and maybe, trigger that talisman for +2. No? Okay, the game did not give us, but it's all good. We still had enough to do Fire Fang and do my free actions on my Minokawa, which is the only thing I was really looking for. I was just looking to get greedy, but we didn't get greedy, but we did get lucky because we can now break the boss on turn 1. Insane. 2 different elements. Was that 8 poise? And we took that out in the first turn. Man. What a beautiful team that we made here. What a beautiful team. So, we'll see if we could close this out. There we go. We got lucky under there. I don't think quite yet. Maybe next turn. Oh, double 39s with a 42. God damn it, a 49er. Holy shit. We actually did it, boys. We actually won on turn 2 on a fresh file run. Oh my god. That is incredible. Alright. Well, there you go. Minokawa doing work with Orthrus. Obviously now you're getting plus 4 XP, but as of making this video, this is the very last fight that's coming up, so it doesn't really matter. But maybe if there's another biome after this somehow, then it would. Yeah, if you have 4 actions, by the way, the game will then give you the option to get 5 HP. I'm thinking about it. Nah, I think I'm going to take the Fire Dart. Free damage with all the power we're getting is going to be pretty nice. Now over here, I don't really care what we're getting here. I'd rather take the Sidekick because Sidekick Generator, although Generate Force is really nice if you had a specific team built around that. I'll just take the 5 HP for survivability. But yeah, now we have one last boss, which is usually very scary for a starter that's new to the game. Wow, we didn't even need the pot. Crazy. We got super lucky on this run. Those are actually pretty good traits on that skull. I would swap that out for the lance, but it doesn't have fire generators, so we're gonna pass. We'll take the deck of cards and we'll see if we maybe get a level 9 Tatzelworm. Yay. Jewel Cutter. I did say I would like that for Earth Poise Breaks. Yeah, actually I will take that. Fire Roll Bloomguard, we only had that because they're... Am I ever going to use Toxic Slash? No. If I'm going to use an Earth action, I was going to use Jewel Cutter. So we'll leave the Viral there in case. But yeah, we're not going to get to level 10 where we're at on XP. The gold cost just keeps ramping up. And you're just not going to reach that. So we're just going to go in here and fight the final boss. I'll try my best to explain its mechanics and what I'm doing, just like the other ones. Oh, I guess we didn't really explain the third boss because it died on round 2. But, I mean, if you got to the third boss on your first run, I think you have a good gist of how the game works and stuff. You'll be fine. I believe in you. Alright, so the main gimmick in this fight is Chernobog has 2 hands. It randomly picks your monsters and corrupts them. Your job is to now break those hands, which will get the curse off of you. Because as you can see, if you do anything besides basic actions, you're getting corruption. Which is obviously bad. But, yeah, your goal here at the start of the fight is to just get rid of those hands if you can, so you don't have to deal with that nonsense. We're going to Fire Fang this hand. Get rid of that. And we're going to... We'll see what RNG gives us if we get 1 crit. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. Alright. Hands are down. That is good to know. So now we're going to charge up. Hopefully we get a Fire Aether. Yes! Alright, so before the turn ends, now I'll just do this. The reason damage doesn't really matter at the start of this turn and potentially next turn is because the boss will then consume the corruption you have on you, heal up, and then make clones of your own monster. So that's why I don't really care too much what's happening on these first 2 turns. I'm just trying to stabilize, set up, so when it does make the clone, I could just kill them really easily. As that can be a very hard part for most players in the fight. Alright, let's see. It's weak to fire. Tasselworm's getting hit, which is fine. I'll just generate some ether here. Oh, we can break it. Sure. If I could prevent some damage going out so I don't have to deal with it, that's better for me. Alright, so like I said, it will now heal based on your corruption and make clones of your allies. Thankfully, that Minokawa only has 3. But it did take our force and sidekick stacks, so do not ignore that. It doesn't mean like, oh, it's just so cute at 3 HP. Nah, they could still do some work on you. So be mindful of that. I'm curious how much damage I could do on the boss, though. Can I just burn the boss? I think I might be able to just burn the boss. It's actually crazy. Out of all the starters, this team we built is so cracked. I was able to kill the boss. Free action's free action. Every damage helps. And yeah, I guess that's all she wrote. Alright, well, hopefully you enjoyed our run with Minokawa. And you saw maybe how to build it properly and which allies to look for to help your run go by much smoother. That is definitely the fastest. We won. Our last PB was with Nixie, which was what, 2 minutes and 52 seconds, I think, or 42. This one's 2 minutes and 8, or 2 hours and 8. So we destroyed the other starters by a mile. So yeah. Turns out Minokawa's pretty good, if not really good. But I'll have a more in-depth beginner guide going over all 4 of them. But this was my last run with the last starter, showcasing how to start a fresh file and navigate to a win with 0 meta progression. So if you enjoyed this one and maybe you want to try out one of the other ones, we ran with Nixie, and you could find that run right here. Until the next video, I'll see ya.